Hello, and welcome to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway podcast. That's right. Your host and tour guide is Scott Prevett, a healer, hypnotist, and a magician. And your bus driver is Jason Gobelli, also a hypnotist, an entrepreneur, and a spiritual guide. Disclaimer, neither Jason, Scott, or any of our guests here today are licensed professional psychologists or psychiatrists. So please don't make any changes to any medication or treatments that you are currently on based on the conversation that you hear here today. Just hop on the bus and enjoy the ride. Trip with us on the Inner Revelation bus. That's right. Wow, what a trip. Thanks for taking that journey with us today. Please like us, share us, and enlighten us with your views of the topics we drove into today. We appreciate you and love reading your comments. Thanks again, and we hope to see you back on the bus next week. That's right.
Hi, I'm Jason. Welcome back to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway. We are super excited today, aren't we, Scott?
Yes, indeed. Got a guest from you guys all the way from Colorado, United States.
That's right, Colorado. We got the great Drake Eastburn. Drake, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
We're doing wonderful. It's glad to have you here, man. We're glad to have you here. So,
glad to be here.
Thank you. Shall we get started?
I'm ready.
All right, let's roll then. Drake.
Okay.
First question: who are you and what do you do?
Well, that's a good question, but I'm a hypnotherapist, but I do a lot of things. I mean, I work with all kinds of clients. I do the obvious stuff like stopping smoking and weight loss and those things, but I work with all kinds of emotional issues and things like that. I've also worked with lots of athletes, and I was the hypnotist for the Olympics, a few Olympics back. I worked with all the cyclists, all the male cyclists and part of the female U.S. team. I've also run a school for, over 30 years now. So like that. Also, I have written 10 or so books on hypnosis, and I've written some other books. So I probably got 15 books out there, but mostly it's on hypnosis or hypnosis related stuff. So a couple will be coming out pretty soon. So that'll even up those numbers a bit, but and one on waking hypnosis. I hope to have it ready for the convention there at Hypnothoughts, but we didn't quite make the deadline. It's like these things don't always work out when you have them planned, but there's that. And I do a lot of stuff with hypnosis, and I started in the early 70s with the Silva Method and just built on it from there.
Nice. So you're an old Jose Silva guy, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're still teaching that stuff, but now it's through Mind Valley. Are you familiar with them?
Been there, done that. There, done that. So, are you teaching Silva with in your school?
No. I love Silva, but I've got my own stuff that I teach. So, yeah.
So, talk to me. What's that all about?
Well, we primarily me. I focus a lot on the basics of hypnosis. I think you need to build a strong foundation. I've been in trainings where it was very metaphysical or psychologically based, but they didn't have a good understanding of basic hypnosis, and they went right into these more involved processes. And it's like my kind of philosophy is, we don't need an atomic bomb of a fly swatter will do the trick. It's like, let's be kind to our clients and like that. So there's a lot of emphasis on suggestion work and things like that. And I focus a lot on waking hypnosis because I really feel like a lot most of the work we do is in the waking portion of our intake and like that, how we present ourselves and how we set things up so that when we do a formal trance, the trance almost becomes more of a trigger or a convincer, because we've set it up so that XXX is going to happen, and boom, once you get to this place, boom, your intention is served. So, and I talk about this a lot in my book, but I talk a lot about with my students. It's like what we do before we do a formal trance may be the most important thing that we do. It's a big deal. So I'm trying to get that word out there more, because a lot of hypnotists are trained in what I call small h hypnosis, where they know how to go through a certain process to get you into a state, and then they read you a script or they use some particular protocol, and that makes a nice little and that's not wrong. I mean, people are doing some good stuff, but it's limited. We've created a paradigm that we work within, when the actual paradigm is way out here somewhere. It's to me, hypnosis doesn't have those confines. It's part of it is skill or creativity. It's craft, and then part of it is science. And we have to continually critique what we're doing, because if we don't, we're losing the science aspect of hypnosis. We have to question ourselves what we're doing, and can this be better, like that. Otherwise, we're just really in a cult. It's like, this is the process, this is what we live by, and but it's bigger than that. And to me, it's just the subconscious mind is just, it's huge. We're only tapping into it.
So Dale, we're on your magical psyche highway. So are you the scientist or the artist?
It's both. And I don't think you can be good at this without being both. And I think, what I reflect on a lot is that the different aspects that I pursue, whether it's seeing lots of clients, or whether it's writing books about hypnosis, or if it's training people, one thing feeds into the other. One thing makes me better at the other things that I do. When I'm teaching, I have to stay on top of my game. I have to stay on top of the lingo, and I have to stay on top of processes and like that. And I have to keep things current. If a school teaches the same curriculum each and every time, then it's not growing with the process. We should be getting better as a school as well as individual hypnotists. And when I'm writing books, it causes me to become very focused on that topic and to explore it in depth. And, I've always got Isaac Asimov said he was always writing like 18 books at a time. And I'm not Isaac Asimov, but I've always got several books that I'm working on at once. And I'm pretty ADD. So in a way that works, because I can jump from one thing to the next a lot, but I'll have different files of information that I create. And some of these are physical files, like in a manila envelope or whatever. Some are files I keep on the computer and like that. But eventually it starts to come together as a book. And then one of those becomes the thing I begin to focus on, and like that. And right now I got several there that I'm working on. Who knows when that's all going to come together. It's a matter of time and like that. But, a lot of people go, well, writing a book is too daunting. But it's like eating an elephant. You write a page. I mean, you write a sentence, you write a paragraph. Pretty soon that becomes a page, and then that becomes a chapter. And you just do what you can. And people, and I teach a class on writing at Colorado Free University, but people go, and a lot of writing teachers will tell you, pick an hour or two every day and write. And that's not bad advice, but I can't do that. My schedule doesn't really allow for that. But what I find, what I do, and this would drive a lot of people crazy, but if I have 10 minutes between clients, I'm on the computer and I'm pecking out a sentence here and there. Well, that would drive some people nuts, but eventually I've got a chapter. Eventually I got a whole book, if you keep that up long enough. This book here, The Hypnotist's Bible, I don't know if you have a copy of that or not, but I started writing this book, I think it was in 2008 when I started working on it, and it just came out a couple of years ago. Not even 2 years ago, I think. But, that's dogged determination that a lot of people would not have. I have another book that's on mechanical things. I've got like 1,200 pages on it, and I don't think I'm halfway done. And I've come to the conclusion that I may not finish it because a lot of this information has become so available on the internet that I don't know that it's worth my time to put it into a book anymore, so things change and like that. But yeah. Now, and you got some books out, right?
That's right. Well, I'm sure you got a lot of this stuff, there's stuff that's out there, but it doesn't have your particular twist on it. So I would think that it would be good for you to finish that. So here's another question for you, Drake.
Yeah.
So what do you enjoy most? Do you enjoy being the author, the teacher, or the healer?
You know what? I am passionate. I am passionate about whatever I do. And when I look at all the careers that I've had over the years, wherever I've worked or whatever, I've always had a passion for it. And I've always enjoyed it and kind of immersed myself in it. I only had one job in the world that the only reason I showed up was for a paycheck. And I was in high school and I was working the swing shift at Foundry, making attaché cases for Schwader Brothers, which was Samsonite luggage. And that was just a factory job, and I did it just because I needed the paycheck, and that was it. But other than that, and I did a lot of things that I was passionate about. I worked as a farm hand when I was young, and I wasn't making any money, but I got a roof over my head and fed and cigarettes. That was about it, But I didn't. I liked it, and I'd like to be doing some of that again. Yeah, I pursue everything, I think, with a passion. When we do whatever it is we're doing because we have to, or we have to have a paycheck or whatever, it's not the same. I have clients all the time, and I'll go, well, what do you do for work? Well, they go, well, I work for XYZ company. And I go, well, how do you like that? And they go, oh, I hate every freaking minute of it. But, I'm getting tenure and I'm getting this retirement package and I'm getting this. And they go, I really wanted to be a rock musician or a jazz musician or a painter or something like that. And that's like, so and some of these people I'm going, you don't have another 5 years in this. It's going to eat you alive. And you can tell it is. They're all stressed out and they got ulcers or whatever. And it's like, my philosophy is go with what you're passionate about. The money is secondary, and it's like, and that's with hypnosis. It's like every day when I walk into that office, it's an adventure because I never know what's going to show up. You got a smoker here and you got a this or that there, and you see that on your schedule. But when it comes down to it, you don't know what that person's really dealing with until you sit down and you do an intake and like that. And a lot of stuff comes out, and now, boom, away we go. So to me, this is an adventure, and it's like it challenges. I like things, and it doesn't happen so much as it used to, but I like things that are unusual, that, you don't, that it's not in some hypnosis handbook or something like that, because that challenges your ability to put hypnosis to work for you. Some years back, there's a little town in southern Colorado near the New Mexico border. I can't think of the name of it right now, but there was a doctor there, and he was the first doctor in this country that anybody knew of who was doing sex change operations. And in fact, this town became noted for this thing. And I was getting a lot of clients that were going there for this. And it's like, and I really enjoyed working with them. And I'm going, there's no protocol in some hypnosis handbook on what to do, and that's where that creative, intuitive piece comes in, and how we can help these people. Now you can get these kind of surgeries all over the, lots of places, but boy, at the time it was a big deal.
Nice. So let me ask you a question here. Here's a good one for you. So you got your school, you got your books, you got your clients you worked with. I mean, you've got your own stuff you've done. What accomplishment have you done in your life that you're the most proud of?
I'll tell you what, I've done a lot of personal growth stuff. I mean, I started with the Silva Method in the early 70s, and I was back then I was a migraine sufferer, and I learned hypnosis methods to get rid of the migraines. And I've never had a migraine since. I've helped a lot of people get rid of theirs. But I went on and I kept pursuing this. But one of the things, I think the thing, and I did a lot of encounter groups. I did EST. I did, imagine anything that for personal growth. I did lots of psychotherapy and all that. But I think the thing, if I had to pinpoint one thing, it was running. I was an ultra distance runner, and I could run hundreds of miles at a time. Seriously. I mean, I never actually did that, but I trained to do that. I could, if I could get water, I could go for days probably. And I ran the Pikes Peak Marathon a number of times, and Mount Evans trophy run many times. And I did a lot of high speed ascents on 14,000 foot peaks. There were some days when I would run 3 14ers in a day. So I was into it. And it was a huge meditation. I mean, that whole process, I mean, you're in, and especially at high altitude, there's no oxygen going into your brain. All of it's down there in your legs trying to keep things moving. But you're always in this space. And I started having out of body experiences at times, and that became very profound as well. But this running helped me to deal with a dysfunctional relationship that I was in, and it helped me to deal with all kind of stress and whatever. And not only that, but there's something that comes with that, and it's what I want to say is, like you're it's a certain power, it's like, because I could do things that normal people couldn't do. It's like if an atomic bomb went off and there wasn't a car or anything, I could run for hundreds of miles if I needed to do whatever I had to. And it gives you a sense of immortality, is what I'm trying to say. And like that. And when I had my knees went poo-foo on me, then I went into an existential crisis, because who I was before that and who I am as a not running, boy, that didn't compute. And then I had to deal with a dysfunctional relationship, which didn't last long after that. I didn't have a coping mechanism anymore, so I had to deal with that. But that ultra distance running, all the hypnosis I've done, all the personal growth stuff, all the psychotherapy, when it comes down to it, was running that was at the top of the charts.
Nice. Scott, I'm open it up. You got any
Thanks.
questions you want to ask?
Sure. So my question would be, have you found a way to combine hypnosis and that running into a
So
book?
yeah, it's all the same thing. You know, it's like we call it uh, hypnosis or trance, and I use those terms interchangeably. But back in those days, I would listen to these hypnosis tapes that I'd made for myself, and they were on big old reel-to-reel recordings because that's what was available. That was the hot technology at the time. And I would, when I wasn't out there running the trails, I'd be listening to these recordings that I'd made for myself, which were very inspiring and like that. And there was one place, and this is kind of a good metaphor for a lot of people, but there was a place that I used to run a lot called Dakin Road, and it's basically fire service road that's not, you know, it's just a trail really, or a little more than a trail. And you know, whenever I was running at high altitude, you're running a trail or whatever, and man, there's a steep grind, and you're just, you know, you're just really working it, but in your mind, you always know there's going to be a place where this trail shifts a little bit, and you're going to get a chance to regroup, get your breath going again, and keep going. But going up Dakin Road, there's a place where it just keep every time you get steep, it gets steeper. Yes. And it's like you keep going, this is going to give me a break at some point. And then I'd break stride. And it pissed me off that I broke stride. And one day I made it all the way. Whatever mental block there was, it was gone. And now I could make it all the way all the time. But boy, it was a son of a gun there for a while.
Nice. So here's one for you, Drake. I think this is an interesting question. So Lindsay, your partner, I mean, she's writing books. She's a hypnotist too. You got all this going on. So she's a hypnotist. You're a hypnotist. Are you under her trance or is she under yours?
Well, it's a little of both, I'd have to say. But we met in 1999 at a hypnosis convention in New Hampshire. And she's from Toronto, but she was living in Chicago at the time. And we'd met at this convention, and she was heading back home, and I was staying to take some more classes, post classes, and she was getting ready to leave, and I said, "Don't think about me." And she'd been trying to get me out of her head ever since. But she laughed just like you when I said that. But it worked. Nice. And this, so that would have been in August of that year. And our first date was 5 days in Breckenridge. I flew her out here. She's leaving. She goes, well, I guess I'll see you next year. And I go, why next year? And she goes, well, the next convention. I go, you know, they got freaking airplanes. You could come visit, you know. And so I sent her, we still used tickets back then. I sent her a ticket and she flew out, and we basically got engaged at that point. And I always said if I ever got married, it'd have to happen fast, because if I had time to think about it, probably wouldn't happen. And that was kind of the case. You know, if we went on a date, it meant one of us had to get on a plane and fly one way or the other. And this was getting expensive. So we just ran out to Vegas and boom, got it done. Her sister came to the ceremony, and her sister's good friend. So and that was only two people that were there. And her sister's friend became my best man. So I had a woman be my best man. Somebody I'd never met before. So,
nice.
But it's all good, and it worked. We're still together.
Well, it sounds like you thought about it from the very moment you gave her that suggestion.
Yeah.
So you probably had you had it going on. So that's nice. You guys have a nice power couple there. So
yeah.
of all your books, which one is the go-to one? Which
Yeah,
one
it's
do you
like,
say this is the one you need to grab?
which is your favorite child, huh?
That's right. That's exactly right.
You know, I think this is a good place for anybody to start. What is hypnosis really? And that I talk about how hypnosis plays a role in our lives and like that. I talk about the placebo in there. I also, there's a lengthy discussion on the application theory of hypnosis, um, which, you know, most definitions of hypnosis that are out there are pretty limiting, or totally inaccurate altogether. And so lots of people have tried to describe hypnosis, and it's our human condition is to compartmentalize things because that makes understanding easier. But the thing is, hypnosis doesn't fit into that compartment. It's like it's way bigger than that. And so we have to think about it in different ways. If we say, well, hypnosis is a relaxed state or a profoundly relaxed state, or it's a state of hyper suggestibility or whatever, these are not definitions of hypnosis. They are descriptions of things that happen while we are in hypnosis. So hypnosis is this other thing that we're trying to describe with this thing here. But basically, I use the terms hypnosis and trance interchangeably. But we're in a trance all the time. Right now, you're in your interviewer trance. I'm in my interviewee trance. And it's like that. It's like when I'm writing, I'm in my writer trance. And when you're reading my book, you're in your reader trance. But there's always some kind of trance going on. Now, we use this term normal as opposed to all this other stuff that goes on. But in my way of looking at it, normal is just another trance. So that we're always in some kind of a trance. And that's, to me, normal is this ambiguous thing anyway. What's normal for one person might not be normal for somebody else. I read a story years ago, and I believe this was in Reader's Digest, but it's about this woman who was blind, and she'd been blind all of her life, and she was, I think, in her 60s at this time. And she had fallen in the kitchen and hit her head and knocked herself, at least briefly, unconscious. And when she came to, she had her sight. And out of some miracle, or whatever you want to call it. And the first thing that she noticed was the colorful pattern in the linoleum floor in the kitchen. And she thought she was going crazy. She had never experienced anything like this before, and she didn't know what would be normal for us. Oh, yeah, that's the freaking linoleum, But for her, it was like her normal was not seeing anything. And now she's in an altered state of consciousness because she's seeing stuff. That was an alteration of her consciousness. So for her normal and our normal weren't at all the same thing. And that's true. Our belief systems and like that, how we experience the world, how we hold the world in certain paradigms defines what our normal is. And it varies from person to person. So when we use this state of normal, we think that we understand what that is, and I guess we all have in our minds something what's normal for us, but primarily normal is what's usual or typical. But is it usual for me, or is it usual and typical for somebody else? It's like it. So when I talk about normal, I often, put it in air quotes because, it's kind of a dubious proposition there.
Well, speaking about the state of consciousness, when did you have that very first aha moment. Like, wow, I'm really going to be able to help people.
Yeah. You know, part of that came from watching those old kung fu shows on TV. And I saw some of the stuff that this guy was doing, and I thought, I could do that. I could just use my mind more. You know, I came from a very negative, dysfunctional family, and it had very low expectations for me. And when I took the Silva method, you know, one of their mantras was change your mind, change your life. And they were very much focused on positive mental attitude and positive mental thinking and like that. And they were right. They were right. You know, it's like if we change how we think about things, and I look at the rest of my family, and you know, they didn't do that great. You know, I mean, they went down with negative thoughts, and most of them went out with suicide like that. It's a kind of a family tradition. But you know, I was the low expectation of the family. I was the stupid kid in the family, and but on the other hand, I ended up being the most successful one. So, you know, I'm going. You know, I didn't do well in school. I suffered from extreme depression and ADD and like that. And that was probably where my biggest, one of my first experiences with using my own mind, because I had been depressed for so long, and I was a kid, you know, I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't even know the term depression probably, but I knew something was wrong, and I was determined to change it. And what I did was, I had this experience, which I'm not going to go into detail with, but I had this experience, and I decided, I'm not going to have this anymore. I'm going to enjoy life, and enjoy would be the term to experience. And I separated myself from my family. I separated myself from the school. Not that driving out of school is probably a good idea for most people, but going to school was just a reflection of what a loser I was, you know, because I was going nowhere with that. And all of a sudden, I was able to start putting my life together, and I did become more successful.
Nice.
I hope I answered your question.
Of course you did. Scott, what about you? You got any other ones?
I do. You said you're getting ready to be a book that's getting ready to be released. So I want you to tell us about that for a little bit.
Sure. Well, there's a few of them actually. The main one is on waking hypnosis, like I was talking about. That'll probably be out pretty soon. As soon as Lindsay gets back into town and we can finalize it, because she is the perfectionist, English degree and all this, you know, grammar Nazi, I call her. But I appreciate that. I appreciate that because she's my backup. If I screw something up, she'll find it, and maybe more than I want, but still. So that one will probably be out pretty soon. And then there's another one that I'm finishing up, in the zone for elite athletes and others. But it's a lot about what I do with athletes, and but it would be an inspiration for anybody. You know, if you're in sales or whatever, a lot of this stuff would apply to that as well. And then there's a book I finished a couple of years ago, and I'm still trying to get it out there, but it's has a lot to do with cognitive dissonance and whoa, sometimes the brain goes, you know, like I wrote the book.
You're good.
But cognitive dissonance is a big focus, and how it's guiding us in the world today, you know, how it's affecting us. That, along with fear and our biases and like that, how that's shaping how the world is functioning right now. And so I would like to get that out because it would be timely. So we'll see. Editing and like that sometimes. I've gone over some of these books, I don't know how many times, but it still can be a lengthy process, and if you want to put something decent out there. So those are the three main ones right now that's going on that we're finishing up. So
Awesome.
Nice. So Drake, how do our viewers get a hold of you?
well, they can go to our website at hypnodenver.com, and there's a lot of free stuff on there. So, you know, go pick up some downloads and stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of good information there.
Nice. Nice. Right on. So it's been a pleasure. Scott, do you have any other questions for Drake?
Drake, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. And
It was
coming
nice
here and
meeting
spending it
you,
with
Scott. And yeah. How's everything in Florida there?
us. Windy.
Well,
Drake, do you have anything you want to add?
yeah. Go see your local hypnotist, everybody. Even if you are a hypnotist, you know, I always say, if you want to know if somebody can benefit from hypnosis, use the mirror test. And that means you hold a mirror up to their nose, and if they can fog it, they can use hypnosis.
That's great. That's great. Okay, Drake, I got one more question because we ain't through yet.
Okay.
This is the big question for you. What are your words of wisdom? What are your words of wisdom for our viewers?
Why? That is one word. Why? I think that may be the most important thing we can ask is, why do I do something? Why do I think the way I do? If we, looking at our own self is the bravest thing we can do. And asking yourself the question, why? You know, if a little kid does something naughty or whatever, and we go, why did you do that? And the kid goes, because. That's deflection. The kid is deflecting somewhere in there. I did this because I'm angry or whatever, but we need to look at what goes beneath it. And you keep following that why back, and there's an emotional component to that we can do something with, but we have to ask ourselves why. And so I'm working on writing a book called Why, and go into this in greater depth. But looking at ourselves, why do I not like certain people? Why do I only like Chevrolets? Why do these? You know, it's like we follow those things back. So I think why is the biggest thing anybody can ask themselves, and that's the most heroic thing we can do.
Cool. Cool. Well, thank you, Drake. It's been a pleasure, man. We're so grateful to be traveling down your magical psyche highway. It's been a blast.
Yeah.
We certainly enjoyed it. Scott, anything else?
No, I
I'm
appreciate
Drake?
I appreciate talking with you, Jason. I see you're doing a lot of good stuff out there, spreading the word, and good for you, buddy.
Thank you. It's a pleasure having you on the show, Drake. We certainly enjoy it. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think we're good.
All right.
We'll do this again sometime, maybe, huh?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure traveling down your magical psyche highway. It's been a lot of fun. And for our viewers out there, we're certainly glad you've traveled the highway with us. We hope you come back. Please subscribe, share it with your friends. If you like us, give us a thumbs up. If you think we're assholes, we don't care. Just give us a thumbs down. We're just glad you're here. And for those out there, we hope to see you next week. Thanks for coming.